referring mostly to 12.6.4.1, which is like two plus pages of red,
Yeah.
right?
That's,
Okay.
I believe what I'm referring to.
Okay, that's fine. I guess my question is, and I, back onto what Wendy's trying to get at is, if we denied it, why can't they come back and ask for all this in a new PDD? If we denied this text as they have proposed, the next month they come back and propose a PDD with all this new text in it. We can,
In other words, why change?
why change the language? I know what Gail was saying, they're trying to make it easier or better, but they can come back with all this same language and ask for a PDD to accommodate all this language.
You would think.
You know, as I sit here tonight, I don't know why they couldn't. I took Gail's explanation as to why you asked the question, and she gave you the answer, and you heard the answer. I thought SLR had commented on that, either in person or in one of their responses to that exact point. I can't sit here today and say for a definite fact, they could go ahead and do that.
No, would that
But
be,
I can't think of a reason right now why they couldn't.
they couldn't do that, come back to us and make the same presentation. These are the reasons why we want to make these changes or additions to our PDD language.
Without our changing
Our
the
section
current
12,
section 12.
right. I guess that's what you're getting at, right, Wendy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing,
I think okay, I'm sorry, go
the other
ahead.
thing is that, I don't know if this is something that happens commonly, I'm guessing it's not. So if we were to agree to a change to sort of accommodate, sort of like create a runway for this project, the next person, the next developer is gonna wanna do the same thing. And they're gonna come in and say, hey, you did it for them. Why can't you accept our changes and our specific language that's going to facilitate this project, which is good for Southbury? So, I mean, I'm not saying that we should out of hand say no, but I mean, when your plan commission president comes down twice to your meeting to say no, and we're leery of where it's gonna take us, seems like a long way to go.
Well, I don't see it as, I mean, on what they're trying to do, I see their point in going through the PDD process. I just think that they just went through a lot of steps when they didn't have to tell you the truth. I think they could have just came in here with a PDD.
Without
asking-
amending the.
Asking for all these text additions to the PDD to accommodate what they want to do, where they want to do it.
My other concern too is, section 8.2 of the Connecticut General Statutes, it doesn't stop a builder from coming in here and not having to go through, like you said, this process. And, the concern about us not having control over that sort of process because there is, it's a higher legislative level. So we have some obligations. We can't stop those developments. Do you know what I mean? And with more control over our process, I think that as long as it meets the 8.2 requirements, and not less than, it can't be challenged, or at least not so easily challenged. I don't know if anybody thought of that as a concern as well.
Wendy, are you saying if we leave the PDD as it stands, rather than amending it before they come in?
Well, yes, that, to some degree, yes, that is
Okay.
my understanding, that, there is, again, at the state level, the statute does allow a builder right now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, to come in under 8.2 and propose a project that would be subject to state law that we're not, or we don't have the same power, except outside, of course, certain criteria to deny. And what does it do if we not consider 8.2 as a commission and create, or at least ensure that we have some leverage over contractors who just would want to barrel through with 8.2?
Yeah, when you say 8.2, I'm thinking 830, right?
Yeah.
830, yes, I'm sorry.
Housing, okay.
Yes,
Yeah, so-
830,
And I think there was discussion before.
yeah. Well, I asked, and I wasn't sure what their answer was, I'm sorry, misstating the statute, but my point is, you know, my concern about that, how would you respond to that?
Well, and I'm sorry, I think we all had long days. 830G is unaffected and it's out there. Anyone who wants to just come in and put in an affordable housing project under 830 is gonna get to do that whether you make this amendment or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but is there, do we have some latitude that we can create as a zoning commission, or some power as a zoning commission that could impact, you know, a builder coming in, or a contractor coming in a way that preserves some of the concerns that we might have about the, you know, the appearance or the type of housing?
And I think that's the PDD option. And I think at least that's the applicant's argument, right? That, you know, we could do an 830, but we'd rather have this language. We think, you know, the applicant's argument was it's better for the town. That we, you know, we'd have more control over this type of housing than you would over an 830G.
So if we said no, they could just come back with an 830.
They can, even if you say yes, they can go back to 830.
Yeah, I would say, that doesn't present anyone from coming back and doing
Right.
whatever they want under 830.
So we reach 10%.
It's gonna be out there regardless of what you expect.
Right.
Whether it
So this,
gives someone an incentive to do this new type of housing versus 830, I think you heard the argument.
Right.
so this text amendment does not protect us against 830.
Right.
The only protection would be if we met the state criteria of adequate affordable housing, right?
We got to the percentage, yeah.
Which is what, 10%, right? Yes.
10, yes. You know, I had a historic question.
Density they proposed meets it. I think they proposed 20, and I think the state is 30.
Yeah,
Right?
for any individual project, but overall, once your town hits 10, you're free of 830, I think.
I think so.
Okay.
A few towns have hit that threshold. Few towns have
We
hit
have
that
a long way to
threshold.
go to hit 10.
So, you know,
Yeah.
on that note, I don't know, Gary, you probably have the most historical knowledge. Inside of the technical supplement 2, there were some numbers about hitting 220 units by year 2022. Is that,
Oops.
is,
You mean this 2022 or another 20?
wait, no.
To go, what's your problem?
We still got a couple, like, we got a week or got time.
Let's get those shovels out.
So we're nowhere near that. Is that, I just don't know. I don't know where we are with that.
Yeah.
That was in the procedure section towards the end.
I guess the bottom line is, you mentioned earlier, Tom, it's straight up or down, yes or no. There is some minor discretion on our part to make changes, but from what I'm hearing, we talking major changes here to the text as proposed?
Such things as moving from 2.9 to 10 dwelling units per acre, moving from 1.5 for a one-bedroom, or is,
For parking,
for parking, yeah, to.
which is outside of the CGS 8-2 threshold.
Uh-huh,
Connecticut State General Statutes is one parking space for one unit and 2 parking spaces or more for 2 bedrooms. So we were,
Where's that come from?
Yeah, and I think at
we
the
were told it
conference
was
we went
more.
to, they were changing to 1. Do you remember?
Yes,
They
I-
did mention that,
And,
that
They were
there's a
switching to 1?
switching to 1.
but these
Or-
standards, which are less favorable in some ways, you'd think to, we can't fiddle with them at all. That's not a minor change, that'd be a major change, and so.
That's what I'm saying, what, the minor changes are minor in nature and minimal in nature, and I don't know if we can meet that threshold. I think we're gonna be going over it.
If we make the change.
This whole zone, this,
I came out of my class that I just took
One-
last week.
one per housing unit? I mean, we're talking cars, parking spaces.
Yeah,
Where's that come from? Who made that up?
I can't tell you that.
I mean, I'll throw my other hat on. I'm a professional and civil engineer. I dabble in traffic quite a bit and parking quite a bit. One parking space per housing unit is, in a town like this, no.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 2 cars
Right, yeah.
per unit.
Yeah.
if there's a
like you do-
couple, there's gonna be, especially,
That's why I raised the question last,
Yeah, if it was to New Haven, it would be okay, but, yeah,
if you have public,
yeah.
like
just
real
between-
public transportation.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, yeah.
I don't know, well,
Unfortunately, I wasn't here for our last meeting, but I'm not clear as to what is the upside and what is the downside to making this change.
well, I think as Tom had mentioned, if we vote this change into law,
Right.
if a developer comes in and meets every criteria that we set in the change, we'd be hard pressed
To deny.
to deny it unless we found something crazy different in his whole application process.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not saying
deniable.
you're hard pressed to deny it, meaning you have to grant it. I'm just saying, if I had to defend you on a denial, I think my arguments would be weaker, that you exercise your discretion. Is the counter arguments going to be, they met this, they met that, in that sense.
If we made the changes.
If we made the changes.
I
So,
still think you have, is you're still operating under your legislative authority, and you still have discretion.
okay,
My point is, I think, if you were to approve the language and then see an application that met everything under the new language, it would be hard for me to defend.
which makes perfect sense. So,
Harder to defend and maybe lose.
well, that's true too.
And there's no guarantee you can win or lose, but
Okay. So let me naively ask them, why would we bother to make the change? What's in it for us as a town to change it? I mean, why not just go with our current regulations for a PDD?
and as part of that new PDD application, they can ask for all these changes.
Correct, they could put that in their application.
We'd have to go through the same process, public hearing process and all that.
Right.
Again, and
in the discussion of such an application, there's a back and forth. And we try to serve the needs of the town with the proposed amendment as is. It's a lot harder
We're very locked
to
in.
have that sort of discussion. I'm more worried about what I don't understand the potential of here
Me too.
than what it says.
We're all looking at you, Wendy. You're the
Look
smiling
around.
one.
No, I understand. I mean, I do have the same concerns. I mean,
I just don't see the upside in changing it. And maybe I'm just missing that, but I'm having difficulty understanding how it's an advantage to the town to change this language, which then makes it far more specific and doesn't, as you said, give us much latitude to kind of negotiate. Am I
believe-
just missing something?
I believe the positives came from a perspective of the need for affordable housing.
Yeah.
That was really the case that was
Oh,
put before
and
us.
I absolutely agree with the
Yeah.
need for affordable housing, but I don't necessarily see how this helps it along.
From the applicant's perspective, I would wager to bet, and I can't speak for them, but given that we're at such a need, this would provide some stimulation,
But they can still come in and ask for the same stuff.
100%.
Okay.
And if they do it, and if we deny it next month, they come back, submit a PDD with the exact same language, and we approve it, that doesn't mean someone else can do the same.
Because they're gonna have to come in too.
They're gonna have to come in, they have to find their own lot, their own location and whatnot, and you can't rely on the previous PDD, they're gonna have to come with all new language. I mean,
It would change with every application, as it should.
As it
It would
should.
be adaptive,
Right.
instead of being very rigid as far
that's
as.
just like, I don't know, how many PDDs do we have in town, 20-something?
Yeah, it's in the 20s.
All 21 are different. And to tell you the truth, all 21 that came before us, we approved all 21,
And they worked well.
and they all worked well. So I don't see what the big issue is here.
This is a greater deviation from the previous established
Process.
standards in many ways because of the needs to create a different sort of living situation.
But I don't think, I don't understand why we would be thwarting the opportunity to do that.
No, I don't think so.
To me, what we're doing is we're locking ourselves into a box that might not be such a good thing.
Yeah, that's a concern.
And without knowing any more about this proposed, I assume, proposed PDD that could come down the line based upon if we approve this, again, as Tom mentioned, if they check all the boxes off and they cover all the
We're done.
issues, we can always say no, but there could be potential other legal action going forward. But I think it just opens the door for other developers to come in, maybe find lots that aren't as good. Again, we don't know where this is going, this lot. We don't know what the issues are. We don't know what they're planning. So to pre-approve all this stuff without seeing all this in hand, I think is
Yeah.
a little crazy.
Concern.
It's a lot of the tail wagging the dog.
You know, we didn't digest this change of rules bit at a time and work through it. We had it all presented to us. And so it's difficult to be as familiar with it as with the sort of things we've done in the past where we debated and argued each clause and adjusted as we thought appropriate.
Well, and I think, Gary, your point is well made that each one is potentially quite unique from the other because we don't know the location. I mean, there's lots of things we don't know. But if we make this so specific, we limit our opportunity for even their creativity. I mean, someone coming in has to meet all of that, and maybe that really doesn't suit either party. Whereas if we leave the language as it is, there's some room for negotiation. This is a very quiet room.
Contemplative room.
The noise you
That's a
hear is
big
us
word.
scratching our heads.
Yeah.
Well, Gail, Attorney McTaggart said that, well, you can always change it if you don't like the way it's working out. And to me, that just seems completely,
No,
don't want to, yeah,
wrong
no,
way to go about it.
no. Why would I want to make this extensive change and then have to take it all back because, oh,
Why
after all,
flip-flop?
it doesn't
Yeah,
really work?
There's another side issue, but troubled me a little, and that is that the language, as I read it, is that things we approve in PDD shall be consistent with the POCD. And consistent to me means works within the guidelines set out by the POCD. And it was my impression that she said that's not needed.
Yeah, it's advisory.
What does it say?
It says
Say consistent.
consistent.
Except that developments under part 12.1.3 shall not be required to comply with technical supplement 2. Which I've included in your
Which is
packets.
the escape clause
Just for your,
for the
yeah.
POCD.
Am I correct then if I say this? Not making the change does not thwart their opportunity to come back to us with a request for a PDD, the way we've always done it, and have us review it and make a decision on that? We haven't in any way thwarted their ability to do that.
Even if it doesn't comply to some of the technical supplement 2, planning would be referred to. They would potentially give a negative referral based on that aspect of it, but you would still have your discretion.
Yeah, we don't have to,
Exactly.
that's their recommendation, not,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of reason to be favorably inclined to good proposals, even
Right.
if they deviate a lot from the as of a right regulations.
Instead of in the regulations being able to write it off altogether.
Right.
Right.
is our job tonight, I'm sorry.
questions.
No, is our job tonight to decide whether or not to vote, or to vote up or down? What are we doing here?
Learning.
Discussion,
Okay, it's just discussion, okay.
and we're all gonna go home. We have 2 weeks to think about it.
I like that.
Enjoy Thanksgiving, of
I was
course.
gonna say,
Talk to your family about this.
And
finish up the turkey.
we will vote on it at the next meeting.
We don't talk to our family about this, what's
And if you did, they wouldn't know what the heck
They
you were
would be
saying.
so bored, I mean, yeah, okay, what are you talking about here?
This is the opportunity as a group to have an honest discussion about it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Between now and the next meeting, I mean, I can call you, Mark, and talk about it, but I can't talk to more than 2 people at once.
That's better.
That's considered a meeting.
That's true.
So now's the time to get everything on the table, all our concerns, and, like I said, go home, think about it, and
Yeah, the second,
We vote on it
14th is
next
the
month.
second Wednesday, yeah.
And I have a suggestion, if I may, for any members who anticipated or be seated at the next meeting, they may be voting. If you missed any of the public hearings, I think I heard it.
I did. But can I come in and listen?
You should be reviewing the minutes,
That's fine.
and you should listen to the recording,
I will do that.
and make sure if any new information documents were distributed at those public hearings you missed, make sure you get them.
Funny story about doing that. In the September meeting, none of you used your microphones. So the only recording that was available that I could listen to was the handheld little thing. And apparently that doesn't upload on the system in the same way as these recordings do. So it was like, oh, you want to listen to that? Oh, what do you mean?
I watched the last one on YouTube and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You watch it on YouTube?
yeah, it's on YouTube.
You've been getting better about the mics.
Yeah, yeah, but you only really hear Gary, really. The rest of you didn't have the mics on. But Gary was clear, and he did
Well,
most of the
only
talking.
what Gary says.
But I think last month's meeting was properly recorded, will be available,
Okay.
maybe even on YouTube.
Any more discussion? I don't want to make
Not
this a
me.
short night.
I think I have my answers.
I do too.
So, sorry I didn't ask any more questions last time.
Well,
I know you kind of looked around the room like, questions? Questions?
any commentary you want to make now based upon the questions you did not ask? I mean, we can all listen to them and
No, really, Tom answered the really big question, so I think I understand that better, and good discussion, I think I'm clearer on it.
So are we done?
I don't know, are we?
I am.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Think about it.
All right, so next.
Thanks, Doc.
Thanks for asking those questions.
I'm not
you, Rob.
afraid to state my ignorance.
Oh, no, no,
I mean,
no. it's-
I mean, to me, that was obvious. I mean,
So Gary, one of the things we learned at the conference, I don't know if you got a report, but we learned that we're gonna have to do 4 hours of continuing education, or education, zoning commissioners.
Next year.
Yeah, and,
Distress they have,
I
or the
think
reasons they.
we have until the end of 2023 to do the first 4 hours.
Oh, that's
And
not
there's a,
Didn't seem genuine.
Well,